talking from Kinus Hashluchim in
Right, this is Sicha 1992. No, it had to be, in Hebrew, it's Dafshin and Beis. This is the one in Hebrew.
Yeah.
But in English dates, it was 1991. And it was the last time that I ever spoke to the Kinus Hashluchim. And in fact, it's considered that the Fabrengen was the beginning, was the opening session of the Kinus Hashluchim. Just want to give a little introduction. What is Kinus Hashluchim? Just want to give a little introduction. What is Kinus Hashluchim? It's different than other conventions. Yes, it's a convention of shluchim, but it's very different than other conventions. In the sense is there are people have conventions, those that are into marketing certain things, different companies, all the people who are in this field come together and they discuss. So it's understood that shluchim who have the same work, they're all out there spreading Yiddishkeit, teaching Torah. People have questions, they have to deal with questions that people have. Difficulties or challenges that they themselves have while they're in shlichus. They have to deal with raising money, budgeting, all that. It's good to have discussions, but there's something much deeper about Kinus Hashluchim. Shluchim are people that didn't go to college, trained, had to be a good salesman, and give a good sales pitch for Judaism. Shluchim are people who are God-fearing Jews, students of the Rebbe, and really they should be spending their time learning and davening and raising their children in the most spiritual environment. But instead they're picking themselves up and they're going out there somewhere where it's very different than where they grew up. And they're raising their children there. And the purpose is to teach Torah to all the Jews that are out there that don't have the opportunity to learn Torah and appreciate Yiddishkeit. So this is something which comes up a lot in class in many different, has many facets to it. And this is one of them. When you go out there, you have to start relating to the things that are out there. And you're relating to people who, are not into Torah mitzvahs. And you have to reach out to them. So you have to speak their language and be involved in different things that normally this is not what you're doing here. And when you're doing something like that, you have to always remember, like, what's the purpose? Why am I here? What's sort of my mission statement? And I'm here because I'm a shlich of the Rebbe, and my main purpose is to take the Rebbe's teachings to inspire people to get closer to Yiddishkeit. Why? This is a little bit like a shlichus of the neshama. The neshama is in Shemayim. Then Hashem says, I want to send you on shlichus. Where are you sending me? Planet Earth. What? What's on planet Earth? Oh, it's a dark place. Oh, okay, thank you. It's a place where godliness is concealed, godliness is hidden, and basically it's going to be your job to bring light there. And the neshama has to come down to this world. When it comes down to this world, it could get distracted, and get involved. You can't do anything without making money, so you have to make money. You have to have a house, you have to have nice clothing, you have to have food. You get so distracted by all the things you have to have that you might forget, what the original plan was. So it's very important, and that's why we daven every day to remind ourselves, Haneshama shenasata b'Hashem, you gave me a neshama. The neshama is from Atzilus. You sent it down the world of Bria, Yitzira, Asiya, and you sent us here in order to do a shlichus. So we're always remembering what we're here for. So the same thing also with the shliach. And it's like really in everything. There's something called a mission statement. Every company, every organization has a mission statement. Why? Because if you don't have a mission statement, and you get so involved in what you're doing, and you forget what your mission was, you can get distracted and go off track. And sometimes when you go off track, not only you're not involved in your mission, you might do things that are contrary to your mission, because you got so involved in the technical details of the mission. Thank you very much. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shakol nidbar. I tell this joke that we spoke this morning about Chelm, so I guess there is Chelm Day, also Chelm. That they woke up one morning, the people in Chelm, and the snow fell overnight, and the streets were filled with beautiful, smooth snow. You know how sometimes it's a very beautiful scenery, the snow is smooth and glittering, and they said it would be really a crime to walk outside now and mess it up. So they quickly had a meeting by shouting from one porch to the other, and they made a ruling that today nobody should go outside and to mess up the snow. So somebody brought up, what about the rabbi? The rabbi has to go to shul. We can't make a ruling that the rabbi doesn't go to shul. Okay, we won't go, but the rabbi, he has to go. So they thought about it, and they decided we're going to send over 4 strong people, and they're going to carry him to shul.
Yeah. Majeski told me that story when I was a kid.
You serious?
Yeah, I didn't realize I had to tell her.
Okay, now you know where it comes from.
Yeah.
What's it from?
I'm saying it's from this book of Chelm stories. Of somebody wrote a book about the foolish people having did foolish things. But what's the joke here? Yes, what do you want?
So popular.
It's not mine. It's Bailey. It's yours? Oh, it says Bailey. Anyway, it's somebody's. I don't know what to do. Call it. Oh, somebody was calling. So what's the joke in the story? The joke is you want the rabbi not to go to shul, so therefore you shouldn't step in the snow. But the technical method that you're going to use to prevent him from walking in the snow is going to make more footsteps in the snow. You'll have 4 people making footsteps instead of 1. It's a very good example of how people get involved in a certain project, and you get so involved in the project and the details and technicalities, you get carried away, and sometimes you forget what the purpose was, and you end up going off track, or sometimes the opposite of what your original purpose is. So the same thing is with shlichus, that the neshama comes down to this world, and we have to remember not to get too involved in the gashmis. Yeah.
זה תפילה, זה מזכירה מה השליחות שלנו?
Yeah, because shlichus, I'm davening, I sit down and think, Hashem,
Yeah,
the
but
world.
you say תפילה.
Tefillah, maskir lanu, that reminds us why I'm here. I'm talking about a yid in general. Tefillah reminds me that my whole purpose is connect to Hashem. And therefore, everything that I do, my eating, my drinking, my doing business, my social life, everything should always be according to Hashem's will, because that's why it was created.
כן, אמרת כאילו תפילה מסוימת.
No, tefillah b'chlal.
תפילה.
Tefillah b'chlal. So being that it's the Rebbe that sends us a shlichus with the intention of bringing light to the rest of the world, so in order to maintain the focus, once in a while, once in a year at least, we have to go back to the source, which is our Rebbe, and refresh our connection, and refresh our understanding and appreciation and clear direction in what my shlichus is. And that's really what Kinus Hashluchim is all about. It's not just about technical discussions about issues. How do we deal with this? That's part of it. But the main part is really connecting to the source. That's why you notice on top of the page, it says the Sicha, so the Kinus Hashluchim, then it says Psichas Kinus Hashluchim Elami.
I actually have a story about this.
What?
I have a story about this. I think it's really cool.
Which is?
So Robertson's sister is Leah Nanda.
Yeah.
And when she got told, she's a shlucha in Sweden.
Right.
And when she found out that she was going on shluchas, it was the weekend of the women's Kinus Shluchim, and she lived in an apartment across the road from LA Torah. And she got a call that she was going on shluchas from the like they were waiting to find out, and the Rebbe was sending them on shluchas. And then she got a call 5 minutes after from the Rebbe's secretary. So the Rebbe wants you to go to Kinus Hashluchim, to Kinus Hashluchim, because that's going to be the start of your connection to Yiddishkeit. Like that's going to be the start of your connection to Yiddishkeit. Like you're starting off connected, and then you'll come back next year and you'll be connected again. And that's why.
Very nice. Thank you very much for sharing. Right. So Actually, technically, there are workshops that start on Wednesday night, Thursday, Friday. But here it says, you don't see it in the English. Here it says, Sichas Kinus Hashluchim. This is the opening session. When was it? Shabbos afternoon, 1:30. But it's already 2 days of having workshops and lectures and talks. The answer is because the beginning of the Shluchim convention is when we're sitting in front of the Rebbe and he's telling us what our Shlichus is. Right? So now let's do the Sicha. So you have 3 choices. You can look at English, Hebrew, and Yiddish. I'm not going to do all 3.
No German here?
No German. Yiddish is the
What's
closest.
English?
I'll do the English. And you can follow in the Hebrew or the Yiddish. We stand at the opening of the International Conference of Shluchim. So here you have the word where the Rebbe says, this is the opening of the conference. The Shluchim of my revered father-in-law, the Rebbe. That is also interesting because most of the Shluchim, even in 1991, were younger. And I would say 90% of the Shluchim were not from the previous Rebbe's times, it was all from the Rebbe's times, starting from 1950. But the Rebbe always refers to everything that he does, that this is the Frierdiker Rebbe's neighborhood, the Frierdiker Rebbe's shul, the Frierdiker Rebbe's shluchim, everything is the Frierdiker Rebbe. That he sent to all corners of the world. On this occasion, it is first necessary to state the foundation on which the shluchim's mission is based and highlight their task in the present generation. In particular, it is fundamentally important to emphasize the new dimension of the mission that was added recently. And what is it? To greet Mashiach and welcome the advent of the ultimate redemption. So, first of all, the Rebbe says, we have to highlight, like I said, the mission statement, what it's all about. But there's something here where the Rebbe writes, the new dimension of the mission that it was added recently. In other words, the Rebbe is declaring and acknowledging and recognizing and making us recognize that there's something going on recently that is actually new compared to what was going on all the years before in Shlichus. Sometimes when you talk to someone about the Lubavitch, the Rebbe, Chabad, and Mashiach, you might have a reaction. I don't remember years ago that there should be such an, I remember, everything was about learning and davening, learning Hasidus. I don't find that there was so much emphasis on doing activities regarding Mashiach. So the answer is, you're right. The Rebbe says this is something new, a new dimension of the mission, and it was added recently. And the Rebbe is now sort of meeting with his soldiers and giving them direction. As mentioned on several occasions, there is a common factor to the divine service shared by all Jews as a whole, because we are all shluchim of Hashem. As it says in the Mishnah, I was created to serve my Creator. So Hashem sent us all as a shliach to this world to serve Hashem. In particular, this concept is relevant to those who serve as the shluchim of the Nasi of our generation. This common factor is constant, relevant at all times. In other words, all Jews are shluchim of Hashem, so we all have something in common. We all keep Shabbos, we all keep Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Pesach, Shavuos, Chanukah, Purim. We all put on tefillin. We all, keeping all the other halachas that relate to living as a firm Jew. And then every person has their individual thing, but we all have things in common. And the same with shluchim. All shluchim have certain things which are in common. Nevertheless, from time to time, a new dimension, a unique mission is added to the shlichus. And at that time, this dimension permeates the entire shlichus and defines its character, serving as the gateway to which the entire shlichus ascends. So I want to elaborate on this. The Hebrew word for this is, if you have this Hebrew copy, that I give out the Hebrew copy? Yeah. The Hebrew word for this is shar, shin ayin reish, means a gateway. And it's actually related to next week's parsha. Next week's parsha tells us the story of Yaakov, that he was traveling, and he went to sleep, and he had a dream. And what did he see in the dream? A ladder. ladder was standing on the earth and went up to Shemayim. And Yaakov said, Zeh Shara Shemayim. This is the gateway to the Shemayim. And what did he see? He saw angels going up and angels going down. This was not a dream like we have dreams. This was a prophetic vision. This was a nevuah, prophecy. And nevuahs come in pictures, images, but have very deep, deep meaning. So there's a lot of written in Medrashim, in Mefarshim, in the Zohar, what's this dream all about and what everything represents. One of the explanations is given is that when we learn Torah and do mitzvahs, one thing is to actually do what we need to do. The other thing is that we want that the Torah and the mitzvahs that we observe should go up to Shemayim. What do you mean go up to Shemayim? They travel. But there is such a concept. In fact, in Tanya we learn that there are two mitzvahs that serve as wings. Which two mitzvahs? Love and fear of Hashem are wings. And the Zohar writes, if I learn and daven without these two wings, I did the mitzvah, but they don't go, they can't fly. They stay down here. In fact, even if I have only one wing, they'll stay down here. We need two wings. And two wings bring the neshama up. So this is one of the way of understanding this in a simple way. What does it mean? Wings, where are we flying, where are we going? In a simple way, it means that the whole purpose of Torah mitzvahs is that through this I connect to Hashem. So when we say it goes up, it flies up, it means it should be a real deep connection to Hashem. Maybe you can use the analogy of you're doing something for someone that you love and you want to show them that you feel that way, you give them a gift. So by giving this, you're actually connecting more to that person. They feel that you love them, it makes them feel more love for you. So you give a gift, whether it's a piece of jewelry or whether you're bringing flowers or whatever it is that you're doing, a little something. If something is done without any feeling, without any emotion, you're just going through the motions, not emotions, just doing whatever you do, there's not a real connection there because there's no feeling behind it. You're just doing an act. It doesn't really connect the two people in a strong way. But when it's done with feeling, it really connects the two people in a strong way. The connection between me and Hashem in a strong way is when I do the Torah and the mitzvah with love and fear of Hashem. And that's the famous story with the Baal Shem Tov, where they once showed him a shul, and he said, this shul has hundreds of great scholars, Torah scholars. Would you like to come in and see the shul? And he said, no, this shul is full of Torah. And they understood that he was intimidated to walk into a shul that had so much Torah there. When he saw that, they understood that he didn't want to walk in because there's so much Torah and he's intimidated of the holiness. He said, no, you don't understand me. It says that when you learn Torah with love and fear of Hashem, the Torah goes up to Shemayim. What if you don't? It stays down here. And what if there are hundreds of people learning Torah like that for a long time? The place is packed with Torah. So there's no room for me to go in because it's all packed with Torah. So that's the ladder. The angels that they saw going up, these are the Torah and the mitzvahs that we observe, and they go up to Shemayim. So why are there angels coming down? Because when you learn Torah and you do mitzvahs and it goes up to Shemayim, it brings bracha. It brings bracha in a physical way, brings bracha in a spiritual way, as a result of what I did. So these are the angels that you see coming down. And the truth is every single person has that. But what does Shara Shemayim mean? Yaakov said, oh, this is the gateway, because when you're going up and connecting to Hashem, you have to go through a gate, you have to go through a door. It's like going to someone's house. They live in the house, but you can't just walk through the wall. There are walls all over. There's a door. If you go through the door, you can get in. What if the door is locked? Even though it's a huge house and there's plenty of space, but if the door is locked, you can't get in. Shemayim also has a gate. And that gate, there's the ladder going up and down. But what if the gate is locked? The gate is locked, then even if my Torah mitzvahs go up, but they don't get in because the gate is locked. So you need the Torah mitzvahs to go up and you need the gate to be open. What is the gate? So it's explained in Chassidus that every person has a different gate. And that is the idea that every person has a specific purpose in this world, why I was created. Why did Hashem create me specifically? I have a very specific shlichus. Certain mitzvah doesn't mean chas v'shalom only this thing. I have to do all the mitzvahs, everything. But on top of everything, there's one thing which that's my main purpose why I came down. I'm not going to repeat it in detail because it's known and we spoke about it at the beginning of the year. But take as an example the story with the Baal Shem Tov, that he didn't want to come out in the open as an open revealed tzaddik and teach Chassidus. And he was told that if he doesn't, then he probably won't be able to continue living in this world. Why? Because he was told that the whole purpose of his neshama was because he lived a life before, 200 years earlier. And during that lifetime, he became a very big tzaddik. There's a story behind it. But nobody knew of it. Nobody benefited from him. So his neshama came down to this world the second time that the world should benefit from his Torah. So the Baal Shem Tov was told that if you don't agree to come out in the open and stay hidden, which means people won't benefit from your Torah, you have no purpose in this world. That's the whole reason why you came down. So you find certain people, and you find this amongst tzaddikim. There's one tzaddik that dedicates himself more to halacha. One tzaddik dedicates himself to studying Kabbalah. One tzaddik dedicates himself to helping people perform weddings. One is very involved in helping people that are sick. Everyone has like something specific. More than anything else, this particular mitzvah is very passionate about more than anything else. Why? Because that's his shlichus. And we all have that, by the way. Every single one of us has either one or a few things that we can say, this is the mitzvah that I was sent out to this world for. This is my shlichus. And the source for this, by the way, is in Gemara. And in Gemara it says, one of the sages asked another sage, what was your father's main passion when it came to mitzvahs? Which mitzvah was his main passion? And chas v'shalom to think that one mitzvah he observed properly, and the others were so-so. Chas v'shalom, he was a tzaddik. So obviously he observed everything 100%.
Wait, sorry, who was this? What did you say?
It says in Gemara that one of the sages asked another one of the sages, what was your father, which mitzvah was your father extremely meticulous with more than other mitzvahs? So I'm saying it doesn't mean that other mitzvahs he did half-heartedly. And one of them he did good. No, everything he did 100%. But one of them he was just much more passionate and much more invested than everything else. Yeah.
Yeah, on like a bigger scale, other Mitzrayim campaigns, like they're the bigger, they're
Oh,
this generation.
Yes.
They're this generation.
Exactly. That's exactly what I'm getting to. Just like every person has their shlichus, something specific, which is the main purpose why they're here, so too every generation has a certain shlichus. Every generation has a certain specific reason and a certain goal that they're supposed to accomplish in this generation. And again, an example of this from Gemara. There's a story in Gemara. It's like really a shocking story with Rabbi. Who was Rabbi? Rabbi is mentioned right at the beginning of Tanya. Rabbi was the leader of the generation in his times. And Rav Ashi. He's the one who wrote the Gemara. So obviously he was the greatest scholar in his times.
Ashi?
Rav Ashi, Aleph Shin Yud. And he said, tomorrow we're going to have a shir and we'll talk about Menashe. Who was Menashe? Menashe was a king. He was the son of a Chizkiyahu HaMelech. Chizkiyahu, his father, was a very big tzaddik. Not only a big tzaddik, he was such a big tzaddik that the Gemara says Hashem wanted to make him a Mashiach. Menashe, in turn, became the next king, and he worshipped idols, and he forced other people to worship idols. So at night he had a dream, and the king Menashe came to him in the dream and says, "Why do you talk about me with such disrespect?" Just Menashe. You should have said the king Menashe.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's because you think you're much greater than me, I want to let you know that my knowledge of Torah is much greater than yours. And he asked him a question in Torah, and he didn't know the answer. Then he gave him the answer. So he said to him, if you were such a great Torah scholar, so how come you did idol worship? How did that make sense? What? Menashe worshipped idols, and he forced people to worship idols. So he asked him, if you're such a great Torah scholar, like you just demonstrated, how come you did something like idol worship? So he answered him, in my days, the Yetzer Hara for worshiping idols was so powerful. The desire to do it, there was such a passion beyond anything you can imagine. And I can tell you that if you would be living in my times and you would see an idol, worship idols, you would pick up the hem of your coat and you'd run to worship the idols. And when I remember that everyone spoke about it and said, if it's in Gemara, it means that it's true. How could you say such a thing about someone like Rav Ashi? And the answer is because each generation there's a different kind of Yetzer Hara. And therefore the Eibush also gives us different kind of strengths to overcome those challenges. And people in the earlier generation, they never had the strength we have to overcome our challenges today. And we don't have the strength to overcome the challenge. We hear stories of years ago, you say, wow, if I would have lived in those times, would have I done what these people did? Some people during the Holocaust or other times, the strength that they had, the courage that they had, that they stood up to such pressure and how much they did for Yiddishkeit. The answer is, in every generation, there are different weaknesses and there are different strengths depending on the situation. And it means every generation has a certain shlichus. So there was one generation that the shlichus was to fight the Yetzer Hara of Avodah Zarah. In your generation, that Yetzer Hara of Avodah Zarah is no longer so strong. And therefore, you don't understand why I couldn't resist it. It's like the story with Adam Arishan. Adam Arishan, the first person. Could you imagine? He was just born or just created. He didn't have 613 commandments, he only had one. Not only that, it was a commandment that would only last for a few hours because he was told not to drink the grapes, eat the grapes, but he was told that if he doesn't eat till Shabbos, then he'll squeeze it and make it a wine, he'll make Kinus on the grapes. So it's a few hours. He was just created by whom? By Hashem himself with his hands, Hashem's hands, so to speak. He was in the holiest place in the world, in Gan Eden, had only one mitzvah, and he failed. How does that make sense? And the only answer is that the Yetzer Hara to eat from the tree was so strong that it felt like it's absolutely irresistible. Why was it so strong? Because that was his shlichus. That was his challenge that he had to overcome. So when a person feels a very strong urge and strong desire for something, it doesn't mean, oh, probably I can't overcome this. Probably it's not meant for me to overcome. On the contrary, this could be your mitzvah, a main mitzvah that you need to do. And in fact, we find sometimes interesting things. When people especially are getting more involved in Yiddishkeit, some people will say, the hardest thing I find is Shabbos. I can't imagine how can I keep 24 hours, not to make a phone call, not to go shopping, not to write anything down. It's inconceivable. Other people say Shabbos, that sounds like a great plan. I can't relate to shaitel, I can't relate to not wearing pants. Why do some people have such difficulty with one area of Yiddishkeit and other people have difficulty with another area of Yiddishkeit? And the answer is, it all has to do with their shlichus. Depending on their shlichus, that's the kind of challenge that they have. So therefore, every person has a shlichus, and every generation has a shlichus. And that's what you said before, in earlier generations, they didn't have this avodah to go out on the streets and ask people to put on tefillin or ask women to light Shabbos candles and do mivtzayim. Look at the amazing things we're accomplishing. Why didn't they do it before? It wasn't the shlichus of those generations. It wasn't their thing. Now it's the thing to do. How do we know what's the thing, what's not the thing? So you have a leader in a generation, and he's the one who guides us and tells us. Before the Baal Shem Tov, they weren't learning Chassidus. Why not? Wow, it's so powerful, it's so amazing, it's so inspiring. Why did they do it before the Baal Shem Tov? The answer is, it wasn't that shlichus. After the Baal Shem Tov, this became the shlichus. So that's what the Rebbe is saying. Even in shlichus, there's differences in things that come from time to time. So there's a time where the Rebbe said, now go out and put on tefillin. Then it came a time where the Rebbe said, now go out and encourage people to have pushkers in their home. Now go out and women should start lighting Shabbos candles. And it's not like people think that these are amazing ideas. And how come the Rebbe came out with this in 1973 and that in 1975? I guess he didn't think of it before. Chas v'shalom. The Rebbe sees that this is the appropriate time for this spiritual kind of activity. And that's why. So that's what the Rebbe is saying here, that every time, every generation has its gateway, which is an entire shlichus has to ascend. So surely the supplies in the present instance, what's the present? The emphasis is not just on a new dimension, that's a particular, let's turn the page, particular, even a general dimension of shlichus, but something which is an essential, all-encompassing matter, indeed the most general and encompassing dimension of Judaism as a whole. What is it? Preparing for Mashiach's coming. This mission includes and encompasses all the particular dimensions of the tasks of shlichus. As mentioned repeatedly in the past, and particularly in the last months and weeks, we are speaking about a present and immediate concern. In other words, again, emphasizing that if a person says, I don't remember ever the Rebbe being so much into Mashiach, and maybe we're overdoing it, and the Rebbe says, yes, you're right, I wasn't. Look, the Rebbe is saying it's a new thing. There's actually a Sicha, it was 1947, when the Rebbe said those words. And the Rebbe said that recently I'm talking about the subject of Mashiach in a way like I never spoke about this before.
Wait, when did the Rebbe say that?
In 19, did I say 47? Sorry, I meant 87. Get mixed up with Mem Zion and the Hebrew and English. It was poor in 1987. And the Rebbe said, I'm talking about things that were never talked about before. And then he added, I don't mean never talked about before in previous generations. I mean, even in this generation, it wasn't talked about before, only now. And the reason is because now is the time that it needs to be talked about. Now is the time that it's relevant. The Rebbe said, but the whole Farbrengen format changed. And actually, a little short while later, it physically changed in a completely different way. There was starting, that was 1987, starting with 1988. It was after the Rebbe's passing. The Rebbe changed the whole format of Farbrengen, which lasted for, 3 decades or more. Every Farbrengen, the Rebbe would give a Sicha on Rashi. Every Farbrengen, there was a Sicha on Rambam. Every Farbrengen, there was a Sicha on Pirkei Avos when it was the summer months. Every Farbrengen, there was a Sicha on the Zohar. That his father wrote commentary on Zohar. And in 1988, everything changed. There wasn't any longer Sicha on Rashi. There was no longer Sicha on the Zohar, no longer Sicha on... What was the Sichas? It was Sichas that revolved around the subject of Mashiach. Sometimes more openly, sometimes not so open, but clearly. Why? Because the times have changed. It means, number one, each generation is different than the generation before. And the second thing is that in the generation itself, there's differences. Take the Alter Rebbe. When the Alter Rebbe went out of jail, he began to reveal Chassidus on a whole new level. And before he was in jail, he also taught Chassidus for many years. But it was not the same. It was very different. Those Maimarim were very short Maimarim. And after that, he began to elaborate on Chassidic teaching like he never did before. That means in the Alter Rebbe's generation itself, things changed. Yeah. Amy?
After his mom's died?
It was after the Rebbetzin passed, yeah. That's when it started to see the change.
How many years was that? Like, over 10 years?
That was 5 years before. As mentioned repeatedly in the past, and particularly in the last months and weeks, we are speaking about a present and immediate concern. Our sages declared all the appointed times for Mashiach's coming have passed, and the matter is dependent solely on tshuva. What does it mean? If you look at the Hebrew, it says kolu kol hakitzim. There are certain times that were designated for Mashiach to come. If it doesn't work, there's another time. And the Gemara already says, times, that's finished already. All those times that were designated, we're finished with that. Now it depends on tshuva. And if we do tshuva, it could be instant. There's a story in Gemara. Some of you might remember it when we did a Shir Hagula last year, that Rabbi Shulman Levi wanted to see, he asked Eliyahu Navi, how can I see Mashiach? He said, I'll tell you where he is. He's in Rome, by the gate of Rome. And I'll tell you where he's sitting, and you can go speak to him. He described to him how he would know who Mashiach is. He's sitting amongst the poor people that are poor, and they have all sorts of diseases, and they're sick, and he's one of them. But he said, how do I know which one's Mashiach? He gave him a simon. The simon was, all the people put on new bandages, fresh bandages, wherever they have wounds every day. What do? They took off the old bandage and they put on all the new ones. There's one person who doesn't do that. He takes off one bandage, makes a fresh bandage, and then he goes to the next one. Doesn't take all of them off. Why? Because he's Mashiach. And he's ready to go any second. So what happens if Hashem says now? And he has to put on the bandage, it'll take time. So he takes off one bandage at a time. Anyway, he went to Rome, he found the person, and then he said to him, Emasar Kosimar, when are you coming? And he said, Hayoim. You're all excited. But it never happened. And then he said, so Eliyahu Navi again said, Mashiach said something which is not true. I can't believe it. He lied to me. What did he say? He said, Hayoim. So he said he didn't mean Hayoim. He was actually quoting a pasuk. There's a pasuk that says, Hayoim in the Koilei Tishmo. Today, if you will listen to my voice. In other words, any single day, if you do tshuva on that day, that's the day. I was once, people out there know that Chabad is very into Mashiach. I remember years ago, during that time, I was walking, I used to give a class in Manhattan once a week. I was walking down the street on Fifth Avenue. The class was on 580 Fifth Avenue. And this Polish chassid walking towards me. And he says, so when is he coming? I knew what he was referring to in a second. I said, Hayoim. Gemara's answer. Yeah, so the Gemara says it's over. All the dates are over. So what do we need now? Tshuva. But my revered father-in-law, the Nasi of our generation, he said that we already turned to Hashem in tshuva. We did that part already. Which, by the way, the one who really said it was the Rebbe. The Friedrich Rebbe would say, "L'alta l'tshuva, l'alta l'gula," which means we need to do tshuva and then we'll have immediate gula. And the Friedrich Rebbe said that we have to still polish the buttons. You heard that expression, right? It means to say the uniform is complete, the buttons are on, a little something needs to be done, like metaphorically, just to polish the button. But the Rebbe says we've done that already. We did tshuva, we polished the button, and we answered this question in the class a few weeks ago. How could you say we did tshuva? It means collectively all the Yidden did tshuva from the beginning of time until now. To borrow an expression from my revered father-in-law, the Rebbe, having polished the buttons, everything is prepared for Mashiach's coming. So now our task and shlichus centers on being ready to actually receive and greet Mashiach here and now. So this is the goal of the present International Conference of Shluchim, to speak together and bring out good resolutions with the intent of carrying them out, directed towards one single goal, carrying out the unique shlichus of the present time, which is receiving and greeting Mashiach. What do we do to receive Mashiach and greet Mashiach? Which means that if everything was already done and we already did tshuva, then what is Mashiach waiting for? And in a sense saying Mashiach is waiting for us to open the door. That we have to demonstrate that we're ready for him, that we want him, and that we're ready to greet him. And when that's done fully by enough people, then Mashiach comes. And that's the avodah. How do we make it happen? The Rebbe is saying that's what this convention should be all about. What do we do and how do we make it happen?
Wait, what's it?
After this, there are pages where the Rebbe goes into a very deep explanation of what Shlichus is all about. And one of the reasons that this was the Pasha Chayesara is the first place in Torah we find Shlichus. Who's the Shlich in Pasha Chayesara? Eliezer. Abraham Avinu sent them on a Shlichus to find the Shidduch for Rivka. And it goes into what Shlichus really means, Api Chasidus, Api Kabbalah, and it's very deep. And then the Rebbe goes back to the Kinus Hashluchim, practically, what does it mean that a Shlich should do? And one of the points the Rebbe also brings out is that Mashiach himself is the shliach. Why is Mashiach the shliach? So the whole Sicha revolves around the pasuk in Chumash. When Hashem told Moshe Rabbeinu, I want you to take Yidden out of Mitzrayim, he said to Hashem, Shlach na b'yat tishlach. Why don't you send the shliach that you're going to send? And Rashi says, he means Mashiach, being that in the future, Hashem is going to send Mashiach, and he's going to bring the ultimate redemption. So why send me and bring a temporary redemption? Send him and the ultimate redemption. So we see the term sending as shlichus is applied to Mashiach himself. So the Rebbe refers to Mashiach that he's the ultimate shliach, and we're our shluchim that we're supposed to do our shlichus to bring the big Mashiach, the big shliach. Then he should take what's his shlichus? Our shlichus is to bring him, and his shlichus is to take Yidden out of goats. Shlach na b'yat tishlach. Actually, in the Sicha it says that the words b'yat tishlach, the gematria topshin on beit. That would be it. That the Sicha said. Okay, so next week in Mirz Hashem we'll continue with the Sicha. I don't think we're going to do the part of the middle because that will take us for the rest of the year. I'm going to go to the part where the Rebbe applies it practically. Thank you. And maybe we'll give a little summary of what it says in the middle. When? Ayen.
מה שקשה לנו זה השליחות שלנו,
מה?
מה שקשה לנו בעבודת השם זה השליחות שלנו.
זאת אומרת, לפעמים יכול להיות, אני עושה משהו שאני לא צריך לעשות, לכן זה קשה.
מה זה אומר? כאילו נגיד יש בן אדם, אמרת שהשליחה שלהם נולד, וצריכה לו יותר משליחה, והשני נגיד, אז מה זה אומר שזה השליחות שלי? אני מנסה להבין, כאילו.
בגלל שזה השליחות שלי, אז יצהרה, מפריע לי יותר.
אבל מה זה אומר השליחות שלי? לעשות את זה? זה השליחות? היא קיימת.
אני אומר, שליחות שלי זה כל התורה וכל המצוות.
כן.
אבל כנראה, הנשמה שלי ירדה אולי יותר לתקן את העניין, לקיים את המצווה של שבת. אז לכן אני נפגש עם תקלות בשבת.
Oh, the green bag.
Oh my God.
That's so good. You must be so like.
Welcome, Chaim Moshka. You're very welcome here.